Good morning, everybody. I am Jaquet Long. I will be with you all today in regards to talking about how to build your child's reading and comprehension skills. I have been a kindergarten teacher, a first grade teacher, and now I'm a third grade teacher. So I kind of want to give you all just tips from beginning to advancing your child's reading, just to help you all along this pandemic and with schooling and how it is now. I have a presentation for you all, and it's just tips on advancing your child's reading. To start off with building comprehension, when you have a book or when your child is reading, always look for clues from the picture. So sometimes, as far as like starting off maybe with kindergarten, they may not know sight words as of yet. And just to help build and start it, always just have them ask them questions in regards to what's this story or what's on this picture? Explain to me what's going on. What is she doing? What is happening? That already helps set the tone for how to build your child's reading skills. Looking at the pictures is very important for them to be able to see the details of what's going on. Saying the word that it begins with. So when you say the sound, have them say, what is this letter? Point to the letter, have them sound it out. This letter is a B, 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 and have them sound out the word, because that way that will help build their phonemic as well. Ask them, does it make sense? Sometimes they may try to sound out the word while reading, and they may have this puzzling look on, and they're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, or it doesn't look right. Take that time out to break down the word and then have them repeat it once they have identified what the word is. Always find small words inside of a big word. So if there are times when it may be compound words, or if there are times where it may be a long word, sometimes they can always identify a word in it. And that's very important for them, because if they identify the small word in it, then that way they can be able to sound out and bridge together the word that it is. Reread a sentence if you have forgotten what it is. It's always important. You can read it first, then have them read it. If they forgot what you said, it's totally fine. Go back and we can reread it again. Always, always, always is building that fluency for them. It's so important. So always make sure if you read the story, you go through the story, it's totally fine, and then go back, hey, let's read it again. Building comprehension, starting off small, like with kindergarten, you can read for 15 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes every day. Building that stamina and having them on a schedule helps identify them building their comprehension skills, their fluency skills, and just being able to understand what a book even is. Searching for the pattern in books. For example, if you're reading in like for kindergarten levels, 9 times out of 10, they always have a repetition and it always has a pattern. So for example, like I say, if you know the word, the L in look, then you're going to know the B in look, in book, right? Excuse me. So always look for a pattern. The book may say, I am hot. I am cold. I am this. They will begin to understand the pattern, and then they'll be able to identify the words and building their vocabulary as they're reading along. When helping your child build their comprehension, it is important that retell is key. Always retelling the story. Even if they tell you one sentence, it's a start, because as they continue to go through each grade, the comprehension and the retell becomes more and more. So I have just a couple of just examples. If you're confused on what you're reading, reread it again. Ask yourself questions. Have the child ask questions. Sometimes they may say the word, but they may not understand what the word is. So it's important just to ask questions along the way. Using text features is very important. Table of contents, bold letters to identify vocabulary words, glossary, index. Those are all key things when they are reading. making a connection. It is so important. I tell my kindergartners, I tell first grade, second grade, third grade, it doesn't even matter, all the way up to eighth grade. When you are reading, always at the end of the story, think about a connection. What does this story remind you of? Or I always say, how can you relate to this story? Or how can you make a personal connection with this story? If the story is about animals or about the zoo, at the end, I always have students say, oh, this reminds me of when I went to the zoo with my mom. Or this reminds me, I have a dog at home. Hey, if that's their personal connection, that's great, because that helps them identify what is happening in the story. It helps them identify making a connection with the real world from the book. And it also helps them identify how to understand what I am identifying, the main idea, the details, and how I can put it all together. And sometimes kids may change words in a story, and it's okay. Let them continue, because to them it may seem as one word. Let them continue reading the story, and then afterwards you can go back and say, I love the way that you sounded out and you thought it was this word. Let me just let you know that it actually is this word. And then that way they'll know, like, oh, okay. And they will be able to make that connection. Bridging the gap of fluency and comprehension is very, very important, because the way that a child reads, the way that a child builds their fluency is how their comprehension will also build as well. When you are reading, always in a retell, ask your child, what happened in the beginning? What happened in the middle? What happened at the end of the story? What was the main idea? Who were the characters? Five-finger retell, which is for fiction stories. Main idea and details for nonfiction stories. Always asking these questions: character, setting, problem. How did the problem become resolved? What is the plot? Asking for main ideas. What are the three details to support your main idea? Even for older kids, even for third graders, go back in the text. What page was that on that you remember that answer? Even though you're paraphrasing it, which is totally fine, because you don't want them to say exactly from word from the story. But as they get older, you do want them to identify where they found that. Okay. As we go on, that's comprehension for the most part. When we go into phonemic awareness, when kids look at words, always have them say the beginning sounds to help them build their phonemic abilities. So if the word is cat, but they may not identify what that letter is, have them sound it out. Have them sound out all of the words if they need to. And repetition is very key. So continue to have them do it daily. That way they can be confident in the words that they are sounding out. Rereading the sentence again is very important, because as they read the sentence, then that helps build them being able to sound out words, being able to identify and decode the words as well. And then also sometimes think of a word that makes sense. When it comes to rhyming words, sometimes with kindergartners or first graders, we tend to have fun with rhyming words, words that are silly rhyming words, and words that definitely make sense. So you have fun where you're like, oh my goodness, what's a silly rhyming word that rhymes with cat? And someone may say, oh, it's a quack or whatnot. Yes, it's funny to them, but they're starting to identify the ending sound, the sound that it's the same. Then you tell them, okay, what are two words that make sense that are rhyming? Cat and hat. They both have at the end. And even doing this in a fun way, to them, as they're little, it's fun, but to you, it also helps you to know how they are growing with identifying certain skills when it comes to phonemic awareness. And once again, always looking for little words inside of big words, which I had said earlier. Looking for spelling patterns is key as well. For example, like I said, the at words. If they continue to see AT at the end, they're going to start to make that connection. If they start to see OG words at the end, they'll start to make that connection of it's a pattern. Oh, if I said log at the beginning and now I see this D in the beginning, I take my L out. Now it's a D. Oh, the word is dog. So now they're making that connection of the pattern. And when in doubt, I always tell the kids, when in doubt, look at the picture. Because just because they see an apple, they might not know that that word at the bottom is apple. So I always tell them, take a moment, look at the word. If they can't identify the word, then I say, look at the picture. When they see the picture, they can make the connection. And then they know, oh, that's apple. And they become excited. It's little things like that that really makes a difference when it comes to reading and building comprehension skills. So that is really important to always use pictures. It's okay. They may seem frustrated, but tell them, hey, I think that if you look at the picture, it will let you know the word. They identify it, look at it, and then you say, okay, repeat the sentence now that you know the word. So those are good clues as far as helping to build reading skills for them. Definitely as they become older, look for endings, ing, ed, s, es. Those are also clues as far as trying to identify the ending sounds, right? Ing, you always know is ing, no matter what the word is. And to help identify for older kids, I always have them sometimes look at the vowel and they can move over their finger to the ending sound. That way they won't miss it. Because a lot of times kids may chop off that ending if they don't know it. And then they're missing how the sentence is either past, present, or future tense. Okay. So it's very important to look at the endings. Vowels are also very, very important. Silent E, or as I say sometimes, and a lot of teachers, sneaky E, where it sneaks upon you. Why is it a sneaky E? Because the other vowel, it's saying its name. So for example, cake. Do you hear the E at the end? No. What is the vowel? A. So another thing too, I have them underline. You can have your kids highlight the two vowels and say, okay, take your finger and move it at the end. Do you hear the E? No. But what vowel do you hear? It is the A. Another thing, when two vowels are together, the first vowel always says the sound. So if the word is boat, OA is together, yes. But what has the sound? It is O. So those are clues and tricks as well when identifying phonemic awareness when kids are reading. A lot of them, they know short A sounds and they know long vowel sounds. But then when vowels start to integrate with each other, it starts to become a little challenging. And that's when they start to become a little frustrated. So just little clues as far as two vowels together. The first one takes the sound, and then the sneaky E is really huge in reading as well. And always sound it out. Sound it out the word. Usually what I have kids do a lot of times when they are decoding while reading, I always have them take out their arm, and it's always the beginning, the middle, and the end. So you just take out your arm, and I always say, up, do you not know the word? Sound out the word cat. Hold out your arm, and they will go at. What do you hear? What are you hearing as you're breaking down the word? As they keep going, say it faster. At. What do you hear? Oh, I hear cat. Another thing that I do is the stretching technique. Stretch it out like a snake. Stretch it out. So, at, okay? Using hand motions and songs are so key. Going over and identifying beginning, middle, and ending sounds. A roller coaster, we all go or used to go on roller coasters and, go up and down, up and down. Well, in order to help them identify, making a connection once again, right? Using a roller coaster to help beginning, middle, and ending sounds. You start here. We haven't went anywhere yet, but starting is the beginning. Then I go up it's the middle sound. Then I come down, it's the ending. So at, because the beginning and ending sounds are usually easy, but it's always the middle sound that is challenging sometimes and where kids start to become confused. So you always start with the beginning sound. Then if you want to teach them ending sound, you should do ending sound next, and then middle sound is last. Because kids, even starting young to even 8th grade or 3rd grade or wherever, they can identify the first sound. They can identify the ending sound. But when it comes to the middle, it's always important to make sure that you use repetition and keep going and practicing over those skills. Because when they start to sound out a word and they are not making a connection with the middle sound, it will become difficult for them to reread the sentence, understand the sentence, because they're not identifying what they're decoding. So roller coaster again, at, and then you can say, what was my beginning? And you can use the motion because you started here. What was my middle? They know, I'm at the top. And what was my ending? I'm done with my roller coaster. So you're down here. So I hope that helps as well. Clapping out the syllables. Always identifying how many parts are in a word. How many parts? So I always tell the students, clap it out, because they all, kids, they always like to guess before they actually do it. So I always say, clap it out. How many parts are in the word cat? Cat. How many times did you clap? Oh, I only clapped once. Okay. How many parts are in it? Just one. Oh, okay, cool, great. Always clap out the syllable, because when you clap it out, they can identify with the motion to clap. They can hear themselves clap, and they begin to count as they're saying the word. Okay, so make sure you clap it out. It definitely works all the time. And then for older kids, if they come out of the clapping phase because they feel they're too cool to do that, you can always highlight challenging words. Even when it comes to double vowels, always you can highlight them. Bossy R, highlight those words, highlight the vowel sounds, because that can help them identify challenging words. Sometimes when kids read, they're so deep in the reading that they don't realize that they messed up the vowel sound. So in order to have them slow down, take their time, highlighting is very good as well. And then they can go back to see, or even before they read, go through the passage, highlight the vowel sounds first. Now, when they begin to read it, they can see, I have a vowel coming up. Let me pay attention to it so I can be able to identify the word. Okay. When it comes to book concepts, even starting with the younger kids, it's very important that they can identify parts of a book. So what do I mean by that is identifying the front of the book. Point to the front, point to the back, point to the spine, open the book, point to the page number. And they're like, what? Point to what page number? Point to the page number. Where do I start reading? Show me, where should I start? A lot of times, if a kid has not been identified to a book, they always point either here, they're pointing at the picture, they're pointing somewhere else. Key things to start as far as helping your child read. Where should I start? Here. How can I identify which one is a capital letter? Here. Which one is a lowercase letter? Why are you asking these questions? Because you want the child to know at the end of a sentence, which is here, my punctuation mark, and when you say turn the page, where should I go next? Point to the capital letter. If they can point to this, they're starting to understand that they're reading from this way to this way, right? Even when it comes to text features, where's the table of contents? Where's the bold words? How can you go back and see what that word means? All of these book concepts, text features is very key when it comes to reading. What's an author? What is an illustrator? How can you identify the two? An author is someone who writes the book. An illustrator is someone who draws the pictures. A lot of times the kids, they always get it confused. Why should a child care about who an author and illustrator is and they're in kindergarten? Well, because as they grow and as they continue to go to the next level, it's very, very, very important that they identify who does what in the book. Because when they pick their own book, or you have them pick a book, and you say, "Oh, who's it by?" And they're like, "I don't know." And you're like, "What do you mean you don't know?" These little concepts here are very, very key when it comes to reading. And just to end, I have different resources for you all. The first one is just different articles as far as how to understand why about reading and spelling and phonemic awareness. Get Epic is a resource that it reads stories to kids. News ELA is another source that has books on there that kids can read, and it's articles of like what's going on in the world today. ReadWorks is another resource that you can go on. It has books, it has articles, and you can have questions that go with it. It identifies vocabulary words also. And Freckle is another phonemic and reading resource as well for younger kids too. So thank you all for just having this opportunity with me. Always just recap, read 30 minutes a day with your child. Begin starting resources with them as far as identifying books, book concepts, how to sound out words that they may not know, how to comprehend to books that they are reading, how to just bridge the gap and making a connection. Retail is so key when it comes to reading. And as long as you keep a routine, I promise you, your child's reading and fluency and comprehension and understanding words, it will be phenomenal. So thank you all so much.